So for example, this is a chapter which is of conclusion, right? And usually the kind of content there is in level 3, everyone would go to great detail to understand each chapter. In the end, what is the major findings of this chapter? So these are the LOS, that 12 major conclusions about technical analysis, and using defending the technical analysis by using the same. Now, if you have read this chapter, what is one thing that is very important when it comes to technical analysis? Indicators and buy and hold strategy. Anyone want to give me an input? What is the most important point of this chapter without going through this? Anyone? It's hardly about being right or wrong. I mean, I don't expect even, you can be right. So anything you want to say, what is the most important thing about this chapter? Arey, anyone can say. It's not like I'm anyhow. I'll go through this. So even if not going through this chapter, what I'll tell you is that there are few conclusions. First is I take you to that chapter, one line, you know. When you have an opportunity cost, that is when I'm talking about buy and hold strategy. Do you see the average return there is? Let me put it in a black. This is the most important number that you can learn from this chapter. Obviously, you should learn all the 12. But how would you justify your answer when you're reading this chapter? The average day is 0.055%. That is the opportunity cost of cash. That is the foregone return, and that is very high for a trader, right? It's case of buy and hold, right? But when you add a technical indicator that adds some value to your system, what is the other most significant number? This one. 12 indicators had an average above 0.70%. You guys know this? If you didn't, then this is very important statistic in this number, and it is in the back of my mind because I have been teaching and obviously trading too. But then this is very important. Learning the key concept and key number when it is given can help you answer a lot of things, So not going to what is the kind of questions we will have, but I'm giving you like an insight that this is the most important thing from this chapter. Now, based on this, I can say that technical indicators out of, I guess, 100, 60, right? 60 is the number. Yeah. 50 of the 60 indicators had an average daily return of above 0.055%, above the that buy and hold strategy. But 12 of them, we don't know which 12, but 12 of them were having a 0.70%. Based on this number, I can actually answer a lot of things, understand a lot of things, how technical indicators add value to any, system, even if it is a screen, or even if you are including fundamental analysis with it. So this is what, how you have to read when you are in this. Obviously, the time is less, but then that is what the importance is of a chapter. Now, this is the general guidelines by Stanley Dash, and it is very important because level 3 is obviously, I believe, everyone is attempting for the first time. If not, if they are attempting for the second time, I think they would be very good with time management this time. But you will have to supply the answer that is asked. You don't have to type or distract the graders. Back in my time, I know that if a question is asking me like 3-4 points, and 20 marks it is, each mark I have to say is of like say 4 or 5 points, right? And I have to write 5 marks, and I have to write 5 points. So I'll have to write 4 sentences only, not a more, not less. If you don't know, I think you don't have to go into that mode of writing an essay that we usually have, you know. Resist the temptation to over answer, because this is gonna kill your time, and this is for sure, that if you over answer, that you think you know this as well and you can write in this, don't. If it is asked specifically, like for say example, uh, let me put a question in front of you. What are the initial decisions required to create a system, right? So there are like almost 6 steps, right? You can write any number of steps from it. but or how, what is a complete system? You know, that simple question. So you'll have to write that only and not anything else, right? If you don't know, then it is your probably fault, or you can actually justify your answer if you are a hardcore systematic trader or things like that. So you only have to give 3 reasons, and also listing additional reasons takes time, you know. So time is everything. Well, in my experience, I had like hardly 10, 15 minutes, 10 minutes remaining, hardly. So that gave me a time just to go through if I answered everything, but I attempted the entire question paper. So do not over attempt, do not try to over answer. If it is three, then it is three. If it's a one word, it's a one word. I mean, the more you extrapolate from one word, the more time you are wasting. If you cannot answer it fully, at least the part, you know, right? If I'm asking you which is which ratio is the one that is going to help me identify better risk adjusted returns. It's a one line thing, right? Or if I'm going to ask you what is the say drawback of Sharpe ratio, so and what kind of normal distribution, or which kind of distribution is does it assume? So you have to just write that, and probably it's a one word thing, you know. So that is how you should you know answer the question. Spelling and grammar is hardly even if you write your name incorrectly while writing an answer, you won't be graded. I mean, there won't be negative marking, you know. So spelling and grammar or language or your communication skill, how good you are with adjectives, how good you are with superlative degree is not going to matlab, you know, improve your marks. What you should understand about level 3 is that they are just after the knowledge. And probably in my case, I was like already into the market between level 1 and level 3. I was already trading two systems. So for me, it was like, you know, a kind of thing which we have seen and what we are writing. So it was helping me. So spelling and grammar is not what they are going to judge. Do your best to communicate the information, but the association and the graders do not grade for presentation or style. You know that English is not the first language of many candidates. So even if it is a broken language, you, and if you are having that you know, justified answer, justified hypothesis behind your answer, you will be able to get the marks. We work to keep the language and the questions direct and consistent, and it's best for you to do the same in the responses. One input which I will share for you is that whenever you are analyzing or reading anything, irrespective it is level 1, level 2, level 3, most of you know, I repeat it again, that if you have read the book, if you have read the content, if you have read whatever the notes you have and whatever resource you are using, the answer would automatically comes to you if you read the question well. If you try to just go through the question and probably just seek towards what is the MCQ that is given and I can take, or what is the answer, I know this about this, and you have to be very careful when you're reading the question. If you read the question once, you're gonna gamble. If you read the question twice, you're gonna speculate with certain probability. If you read the question thrice, you are probably very close to the answer. It is the third time after reading the question you will push yourself closer to the answer. So as he said, Stanley, you know, this one point that if you do not know the answer, if you do not know the 3 reasons, but you can supply only 2, then write those 2 reasons. And also this one thing where he said that you can supply the part, you know, supply at least the part, you know. So it is like if you are reading through a question and you are probably say it is something related to walk forward, or it is like sequential testing and whatnot, at least tell them what is. For example, what is the walk forward optimization, right? And supply 4 points that should be related to walk forward optimization. Now that walk forward optimization should be seen as a concept. If you know what is optimization, you can write what is an optimization, because walk forward optimization is part of that particular section of optimization. So that's how you try to supplement your answer. And then you do the work for optimization, and then you take the sample in, sample out of sample, again taking in the sample and going through out of sample. So that is how work forward. So there is always one advantage or disadvantage of anything we use. There is always a disadvantage of mean reversion system, that a trend can take entire profit, or there is a disadvantage with trend following system, that the accuracy is only 35% of the time. So there is a psychological or kind of a risk over there, where people may change the rule of the system. So there are risk of a point which is favorable, point which is not favorable, so you should know that kind of things. Time management is obviously everything. The clarity in concept, knowledge of systematic trading, especially the section 1, risk management, and so on. The exam format seeks your knowledge and its depth along with practical application. Obviously, the practical application is when you are using systematic trading, you are going through those numbers which you might have seen in your notes, or there was a system of HL given. Even if you don't have a system in front of you to compare, probably I can share to Kushal and he can share that to you. But you can calculate profit factor on your own. What is the Sharpe? What is the Sortino? If not Sortino, what is the Sterling radio? Why it is called as also known as average gain to pain? So things like that. Be concise, answer what is asked, and to be to the point rather than writing an essay. Your 1 or 2 sentence in depth about a concept is going to be more valuable rather than trying to answer it in 10 lines, since it is a descriptive and you have to write it down. You need to make sure you are doing some keyboard practices. If you are good, then it is good, but if you're not, then try to get on a keyboard and try to take one concept from the chapter and just write about it from 10 points. If it's like just what are the initial decision, what is walk forward optimization, or something like Kushal asked, what is neural network, or what is genetic algorithm, and what is it is good in, and probably what are the disadvantages of. So go through that and write it. So in exam, you're not pressurizing yourself to miss the words, or you're not familiar with, because if you are giving it first time, you want to be familiar with how you write an answer. So whatever you have gone through, say test bank, question paper, book, or notes, and whatever it is, but if you're not practiced it on keyboard, at least do it for 1 hour. It's going to give you a very real feel that in 1 hour you have to write, say, 5 questions. Create those 5 questions from the back of your mind, or take the LOS from the book and write them down. You try to write it and you would be able to see that you would do very good when it is in exam. To each his own is the concept. Use the readings assigned. So you to each his own is the concept, is I guess from that Michael Douglas, that trading in the zone. Um, as I was saying that, I'm a trader, I want to be less exposed to systematic risk, or sorry, price shock risk. So for me, number of trades is a very important variable along with Sharpe, which measures risk adjusted return. Probably you are a mean reversion trader. High number of trades is something which is your forte, and probably you are working with a very tight stop and risk management. So you are exposed to market most of the time. So higher number of trades is not a trade-off for you. Your trade-off is basically profit factor, or you need to have a higher payoff ratio. So that is the justification. So for me, it's a number of trade as a variable to understand, or as a variable I can write in exam. And for you, it's a higher profit factor, right? So higher profit factor is something which is must above 1, but preferred above 2, and anything about 10 or 8, whatever that is, it's suspected. So do not try to learn new things. Well, you do have enough time. This is third. You almost have 4 days in your hand. I guess everyone is on 8. So nothing's going to change overnight. Rather, and a good candidate is expected to know what are the numbers, such as Sharpe, preferred, trend following, winners, person, trade-offs, RRG usage and its participants. Uh, that was what I was, looking at. If you guys have, say, for example, any doubt, any general question, I can help you with.
So I do have a small question. Just for this, my name is Harminder. Hello, sir.
Hi,
Uh,
Arminda. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. I do have one question. How some examples should be carved in every question? they are required examples in every question, or we have to check how what exactly is asked and define our example, put our example into that question.
You don't
Or
have
is
to be honest. I'll tell you, there are not much. I've seen anything with example. So, for example, yeah, if you are asked like name any three risk measures or tell me what are the profit measures, right? You should know that, right? But
yes,
to give an example has to be from your reading only. And if you are asked for an example, it's actually not going to be example. I tell you, you would be asked basically, you should know what a chart look like or what is that you see on the chart, right? That's the general thing you probably might want to look at. So for example, when you are doing candlestick analysis, now there are certain things like I was telling Kushal, certain things that would augment a candlestick formation, right? There are certain things that would diminish this candle formations. So what is this factors that augment or diminishes? Even if I have to understand candlestick analysis, it's very important to know what is the intrinsic factors or say what is extrinsic factors. That things must be understood,
okay.
and
And
it will. Please go ahead.
for a question like MCQ and all, do we have to explain that also? I'm not sure if points would be given.
No,
Or
it would be once, I guess, just one thing you will have to select.
just one word answers, whatever it's.
Yeah, whatever is there. If I'm asking you like, what is a number which is highly used by hedge funds, which is widely used by hedge funds, what is that ratio?
Okay.
That's a Kalmar ratio, right?
Yeah.
So that is what it is, I guess.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other question you have?
Hi, Smith here. I wanted to know what is the difference between Kalmar and Mar ratio?
I guess if you refer to Perry Kaufman chapter number 4, you would be able to understand it's a very one is called as system mar and one is called as trade mar, right? So when we are using system mar, the formula changes. The formula usually for system mar is I guess it takes the average annual net profit by the that is I guess sterling ratio, right? System mar is something which is let me see. It's a very fine. Sorry, you saying something?
No. Kalmar and Mar. Difference between Kalmar and Mar ratio.
आज CMT मीटिंग थी यार लेवल 3 वालों की 5 बजे मेरी तो हुई नहीं कुछ
एक सेकंड
एग्जाम पे डाउट है या किसी को कुछ पूछने के लिए
हाँ do not minimize when you're recording this meeting. Okay.
I request everyone to please check their microphones if anyone has by mistakenly kept them on.
I'll mute them. Let me open some thing for you and you should be able to see that. Right. So Kalmar is basically what is used by hedge funds, and you will have to use your annual rate of return, but your maximum drawdown, right, is a hardcore number, right? Maximum drawdown is always a single number, which is in terms of how much percent you are, say, worst loss you have taken from an equity peak all the way to the lowest point that you have and when you're talking about Mar ratio, it's the same thing, but it's using that average percentage gain, annual percentage gain, and then you are dividing it by maximum percentage drawdown. So widely called as Kalmar is what you called as system mark. It both have a same equation. One uses annual rate of return and other one uses annual percentage net gain, right? Other thing which I think it's a good thing you asked, you should also focus on what is Sterling ratio, okay? And say for example, why it is called as a gain to pain ratio. When we usually hear the term gain to pain ratio, we want to look at average payoff, but gain to pain ratio in terms of say, Sterling is a different thing. It uses the average annual net profit divided by the average, annual maximum drawdown. Also, one important number you should look at is efficiency factor, where you are taking the net profit and you're using the total profit to see the efficiency of your system, right? Then there are a lot of things which you should know from the concept point of view. So to each his own, like someone who is looking at on absolute basis or a long short funds, they would want a higher risk adjusted return, or someone who's into hedge fund is looking more on a Kalmar as a number. So you will have to supplement your answer in a way that you know the concept and you're not trying to just give a fluke, right? That you know this thing, you don't know this thing, but you're trying to act in your answer that you know, right? At least if you're very close to the concept, answer what you know about it. But if it's being asked what is walk forward optimization and you're talking about say system design, then it's a totally wrong approach.
Thank you.
Sir, I'll just add one point from a practical perspective, like from institutional levels, if you have to see, Kalmar is something that you look up at a period of 36 months, like about 3 years. But MAR ratio is right from the inception, that is that it's taken into consideration.
Also, one thing which I would say is that when you're attempting level 3, it won't be about like what's the kind of questions that would come or what is the general questions that would expect. I mean, there is no sense in looking for things that can come. To be honest, the best is what you can read from the chapter. At least if you haven't read till yet, obviously because of your professional work and professional commitment, at least you should go through the LOS. They are like your watchtower, and they are something which is going to help you understand in terms of what do you say, the concept behind it, right? If you haven't read the book, that's what I wanted to say. Something which is like fact, fiction, and momentum or behavioral biases. For me, it has been always a scoring part, to be honest, because behavioral biases are certain definitions which I just need to learn and know what people usually do when there is a bias. But when it is about, say, for example, fact, fiction, and myths, what is UMD, what is HML, what is RMRF? So which one has the best Sharpe for some period of time? So if I know these, critical things, what is the one thing you are expected to learn from this chapter? That important table which is given. Let me open it for you, and probably I'll just give you an insight. That's what your approach should be for next 4-5 days, even if you are just going to use the book, so that it's going to help a bit. Let me see if I can share the screen. There are 4 chats. Sorry, I'm not able to. Thank you, Peter. Peter is right? Experience to fit the job role of CMT, and you need to see you have the right knowledge, right? And that's the issue. Interviews are scary. What if it's a stressed one? How to calculate number of VIPs options needed to hedge the S&P. You'll have to go through this. I mean, this is way too more time for now, but general idea from that chapter is what you should be able to understand. If I can recall that volatility as an asset class since 2020 crash has been gaining a lot of popularity, because volatility itself is now turning to, and with the kind of all the exotic derivative products coming in, volatility as an asset class is what usually is now a part of a portfolio. So that study by University of Massachusetts is something important. How to calculate number of, so that is done. Treat the level 3 short answer questions like you are doing a job interview. Answer the questions like a normal conserve. Yeah, the more you are actually, I don't know. Back in my time, it's not like I've ratified the book and was writing down whatever there is in the book. To be honest, for me, it was my all experience. So if I'm like talking about walk forward optimization, it's what I know about walk forward optimization. It's not what I actually have read line to line from the book. That's what Peter said. You are expected to know the concept. You are not expected to know the line by line answer for it. For example, let me share this screen and just screen two. No. Two. And this is what, like, you know, so this is the most important part from this chapter. What is the most important part? This one. This is what, this is your table, your something important which you are going to go through this entire chapter. So this is what the returns are, you know, of HML, UMD, up minus down. Look at the returns of up minus down. 8.4%, 8.3%, 6.3%. Look at the Sharpe ratios over here. Look at the RMRF Sharpe ratios. Okay. But when you look on a higher time frame for the period of 63 to 30, so what are the time periods over here? The time periods over here is what, 100 years, 50 years, and probably 10 years kind of a sample, I guess. So this is the sample, and look at the Sharpe ratios of UMD over those long periods. It has always outperformed. So how would you use this data to defend that momentum actually works? It's not something which is called as hot potato, or it's too small and sporadic. And what is UMD? You should know what the universe is. Now, if you are busting the myth, what is that one thing that is going to help you? It's obviously how's the performance. What's the performance of this particular thing? The performance is basically on the short side, UMD returns minus market. Look at the returns on the long side, and that's the overall return, and how much of the return is conferred from the long side. So this is something which is going to help me to debunk every myth that is out there. Now I can use this one table or two tables which I have learned recently, and I can bust at least 3-4 myths, you know. So this is what the expected learning from you is, you know. Look at from the perspective of earning merit, right? So momentum does not work on a taxable. Now that's a one-line thing which you need to understand. Bottom line is that momentum survived taxes and has tax burden roughly equal to or smaller than lower turnover strategies, you know. So learning this table, that what is up minus down returns, look at the momentum returns and the kind of performance there is. So these are like, and in the end there is a conclusion. There is no theory behind momentum. So it's not a hot potato. Basically there are two categories. One is risk based and second is behavioral. And there's Jig, and all of them has done a very wide study when it is about momentum. If you look at the sample is from 1927 to 19, that's almost 95 years of data. And when you have different samples of 95 years of data, telling you that if you have seen the sample from this almost 95 years, or say 90 years, 63 to 50 years, and 91 to 2013, that's almost 20 years. So I've got different sample sizes. My sample sizes, you know, this sample sizes, try to learn it, take it from the perspective of that null hypothesis. And now, if you now know that what is the use of null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis, what was David Aronson all talking about, and how you just need your hypothesis and then how you can prove. So all this is the sample. I have a very large enough sample from the observed sample, and I can tell you about the, or make a reference about the population, you know, things like that. So pretty much the same thing. I'm just trying to give you, you know, what do you call it? A simple structure over here that don't go through, even if you are today's what, third, don't go through random stops, go through something which is very concrete about the chapter, like in last chapter, it was the average return of those 12 indicators was 0.075. Average buy and hold return is 0.055%. So there is obviously opportunity cost. So these are the things which you should learn from a chapter. And to be very honest, this is going to help you to transform your personally, like it has helped me to be a trader or such. It would help you to be a better decision making in terms of your job, or even if you're looking to go into field of being independent trader. So learn it in like that way, right? Any other questions?
Awesome.
We I'm in keeping it we cannot take like specific questions what you have said over here, that if I want to explain what do you call it,
Genetical
Sir,
content.
and
So it's very simple. Look at it from a perspective of arranged marriage. If
Ah.
you go by it, it's a story you build around it and you can remember it.
to understand genetic algorithm, if you haven't, there is a good diagram in the book. You can search for it though. There is a very good diagram in the book, and a table which is given. I think I've uploaded that Excel. I think Peter is here as well. If I have a few variables like moving average and level 3, right?
सर कैंडलस्टिक में डाउट था
बोलना।
तो मतलब अभी ग्रुप में क्वेश्चन आया था जिसमें 3 अलग-अलग चार्ट पैटर्न्स थे। तो 2 सेकंड वाले में कुछ देयर वाज अ सॉर्ट ऑफ हैमर फॉर्मेशन या फिर बुलिश हरामी था, और थर्ड वाले पैटर्न में 3 वाइट सोल्जर्स था। और आंसर में दिया है कि क्वेश्चन था कि व्हाट व्हिच इज द बुलिश रिवर्सल सिग्नल। तो अब बुलिश हरामी भी हो सकता है एंड 3 वाइट सोल्जर्स भी हो सकता है। ऑफ कोर्स वो जो सेकंड चार्ट पैटर्न था इट वाज नॉट दैट क्लियर एज बुलिश हरामी, बट मुझे भी आंसर सेकंड वाला ही लगा था। सो इज इट पॉसिबल कि इफ वी प्रॉपर्ली जस्टिफाई जो हमारा पॉइंट है तो वो कंसीडर करा किया जाएगा, या फिर वील हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल विद सच कैंडलस्टिक पैटर्न?
Can you share like image or WhatsApp me the image?
हाँ, मैं आपको एक बार करता हूँ व्हाट्सएप।
क्योंकि because 3 bullish 3 white soldiers indicate a starting of an uptrend too. They are very good when it comes to reversal patterns, and harami or hammer is a single body pattern,
हाँ, बट है तो ये बुलिश रिवर्सल ही।
हाँ है तो bullish reversal, no doubt है bullish reversal,
क्योंकि
but
क्वेश्चन में अगर ये पूछा होता कि सिंगल कैंडलस्टिक बॉडी चाहिए तो वी कुड हैव आंसर्ड कि हाँ ठीक है, वी कुड हैव डिबेटेड कि हाँ भाई हरामी होगा और 3 वाइट सोल्जर्स नहीं होगा, बट क्वेश्चन में सिर्फ बुलिश रिवर्सल पूछा है तो दोनों बुलिश रिवर्सल है। आपको मैंने व्हाट्सएप पे शेयर किया।
Sir, but the fourth one is not technically a 3 white soldier pattern also, sir.
Because the body should overlap. That's
Because
वो
one of the
रहता है
features,
वो रहता है मैं
because one of the
आपको
features is that it has to gap into the body of the previous candle, right? And then have a good strong white candle.
it has to be open, gap down and open in the previous candle formation, and then it has to close higher for 2
Yes, sir.
consecutive bars after the first one is made, right? Let me just see what
Yes, sir.
Kushal has seen. WhatsApp. Kushal Bhagwila. Oh. अच्छा ऐसा anyone has faced a problem with what is bearish engulfing?
यस, मैंने फेस किया।
But
वो
that
बहुत
is
cut
like
to cut।
the cut to cut, but that is like a composition of candles. If I say for example, I'll give you a simple example coming to this, and then I'll take this one. इसका आंसर क्या है वैसे? 3 white soldiers.
Yes,
यस,
yes.
3 वाइट।
The fourth one. Out of the fourth
So,
one.
but
is
he's
three
saying second candle has not gapped, right? Second candle has opened pretty much below the high, but above almost close to the opening price. The first one is okay, it's a reversal. The second one is, what's the second pattern? second one का pattern, what you, it's a harami? Huh?
It's actually not
Yeah.
a harami.
It's not a harami, right?
It's more of a
Please,
hammer sort.
Please mute. If you're not speaking, please mute yourself. Thank you so much. हाँ.
हाँ हरामी नहीं है, it's more of a hammer, but confusion है. एक second. हरमिंदर अपना म्यूट करना माइक भाई.
मैं कर दिया, ठीक है. हाँ.
सो इसमें कंफ्यूजन सर ऐसा है कि सेकंड वाले चार्ट पैटर्न में वो भी एक बुलिश रिवर्सल दिखाई रहा है, मतलब यू कैन कॉल इट हैमर और व्हाटएवर, बट हाँ फोर्थ वाले में यू कैन से कि अब फोर्थ वाले में आफ्टर सेकंड वाला जो है उसके बाद एक डाउन ट्रेंड आया है, लेकिन फोर्थ वाले में इट्स लाइक कि वो ऊपर जाए जा रहा है. तो अगर
ऊपर
वो
है.
पर्सपेक्टिव से
It's
देखते
so
हैं,
obviously it's not an extreme point where the
हाँ.
reversal should happen.
हाँ,
That's what
correct.
you're saying, right?
हाँ, so I'm just asking, मैं मेरा क्वेश्चन अल्टीमेटली ये है कि do we have to look for, because सेकंड वाला चलो है तो बुलिश रिवर्सल, बट इफ दे आर कंसीडरिंग द फैक्ट कि वो पैटर्न के बाद वापस वो स्टॉक नीचे आ गया है एंड द फोर्थ वन इंडिकेट्स अ क्लियर कट बुलिश रिवर्सल, दे स्टॉक ऊपर जाए जा रहा है. सो ये सब पॉइंट्स भी कंसीडर करने हैं और वी जस्ट हैव टू लुक फॉर द कैंडलस्टिक पैटर्न्स.
नहीं, you can. वो it's an open. एक second. What is the question is you have to write 4 points, right? There is no choice selection over here, right?
हाँ.
हाँ, so that is good now. When you have a choice selection, I don't know which year it is, but you have a better answer over here. Why? Because I'll tell you, if you draw a kind of a trend line, you've got a higher low formation, and after this after third and fourth has formed, you'll get a higher high, almost a higher high, and you've got a trend line selection, and then you've got it three white soldiers. So I think that is a better answer to justify. Because you can see in retrospect, you can see in hindsight that first was not a reversal pattern.
Correct.
After that, market came down. There was no evidence that there is a high which has been taken out. After the pattern formed, first wala, hai na? There is a lower high and it wasn't taken out. Second pattern formed probably at the same support level where first is and the mid trough is, but then still the high is there, and after the second one, you will see the kind of candles. I can simply write, to be honest, I can simply say, if you see the variation of the candles that are being formed at those price levels are way too high. If you see the lowest point, the 3 candles formed, the 2 green candles covered the entire bearish price action which has happened in 10 days when the first pattern formed, right? Even when the second pattern formed, look at this one green candle that has engulfed, not as in per se bullish engulfing, but that has engulfed all the price action of the 3 bearish candles, right? And after third is not obviously a reversal pattern. Fourth is forming again at a trend line support and very important support. So this is like, and you have a 3 white soldiers, so that can be a justification. If you want to justify one, I don't think you would be able to justify one because you're obviously the low is taken out.
No, not one. The confusion is between 2 and 4.
Confusion is between 2 and 4, but in the retrospect, in the retrospect, you are given a chart, so you can use your hindsight basis over here. Let me share and
हरामी क्यों नहीं है? सेकंड वाला वो सर्कल,
ये वाला चार्ट बोल रहे हो ना तुम?
सेकंड नहीं आ रहा है.
This is Kushal, right?
Yes.
हाँ, so look at this na. If I give you just if you are just given, say for example, this much chart, what would be your answer? If you are just given this much chart, right?
We're
There's
still
no-
sharing the same screen.
Which screen?
The
मेरा
question.
WhatsApp.
Okay, got it. Over here, if you see, if you are just given this much, would your answer 1 be right?
No.
If you are just given this much, your 2 would make sense, right?
Correct.
It would make sense. Obviously, it is forming at the same support, right? Now, if you are given this much chart, I can use this as a first support, second support, and the third support. You've got a 3 white soldiers already highlighted over here. Obviously, that technicality of the pattern,
That is also there. If you zoom into the image, you can see the second body is minorly overlapping the first body in the
This one,
fourth one
right?
itself. No, in the
Fourth one.
fourth one, it is 3 white soldiers. It is overlapping.
So you have to, I mean, justify your answer. Don't go after just one chart and try to, push all the technicalities it is. I'll tell you what, I'll give you an example. See, prices opened prices have been in consolidation between 110 to 120, okay, per se. This has happened for 2 weeks. Okay, understand this, right? For 10 trading sessions, I'd say 10 trading sessions. For 10 trading day, price have been between 100 and 10 to 100. Consider this 100. Let me erase and just write. It has been between 110 to 100. On the 11th day, I'm not giving you a chart. On the 11th day, price opened at 117. I mean, say opened at or went or made a high of 117, and on 15th day price closed at 98, losing almost all the gains. What's the pattern formed? Think in terms of logic. Now try to create this. I've been between 110 to 100 on say 15th, 12th day, 11th day. I'm opening at in the range and I made a high of 117. On 15th trading day, I'm closing with losing all the gains I've made on 10th day and I'm closing at 98. What's the pattern formed over here?
So bull trap.
It's a bearish engulfing. Can I say that? Now, I've been between 110 to 100 levels, right? On 11th day, I made a high of 117. On 15th day, I lose all the gains I've made between first 10 days and I close at this. What's the pattern? There are two scenarios to this. These are the 10 days and this is the last 5 days. What's the pattern? The moment you switch from daily time frame to weekly time frame, what you'll see? A bullish, not a bearish engulfing. Am I right?
Yeah, on a weekly time.
On a weekly time frame. But is it a bearish engulfing?
On a daily,
It might not,
No.
but what has the pattern been formed, right? It is a bearish engulfing. That is what you analyze when you do composition of candlesticks as well. So people do send me some image that this is not a bearish engulfing. I tell you that if you have a kind of that mindset where you are looking at candlesticks in terms of composition, probably this is a say for example a daily chart. Let me over here. Let's say this is a daily chart. Okay. Now clear all drawings. Say for example the low of this is pretty much above below this, right? This is a daily chart and these are the 1 2 3 4 almost 5 trading days. Okay, over here, fair enough. 5 trading days and this candle to this candle is 5 trading days. Okay, got the composition?
Yes. Yes.
These 5 candles are making my 1 week and these 5 candles are making my another week. What's the pattern formed? It is bullish engulfing, right?
Yes.
It is bullish engulfing, right? With 3 white soldiers. So this is the kind of knowledge you have to gain when you understand candlestick analysis. Probably you are a trader looking at chart and seeing that there is no formation, market is in sideways range for too much days. But as soon as you turn from this daily time frame to weekly time frame, what you see? You probably see 2 consecutive inside days being formed, right? Over last 10 days, you would say market is not moving, or 15 days say it is not moving. But in the back of your mind, can you make that candlestick pattern as a trader that if I haven't moved, this is probably an inside, and probably this happened actually in Bank Nifty. before it gave a breakout. On a daily time frame, I guess there was a good sideways consolidation, and then suddenly there was so this is what composition of candlestick is. You should be well versed with these kind of things. I just gave you one number that prices were between 100 to 110, and then on 11th day prices went down to this. In 1 week, price lost all its value from 117 and all the gains it made, and it was a negative close at 98. I can with surety say if it's 15 trading days on a weekly time frame, it's a bearish engulfing pattern. That is what you should also be able to see. But when you are in exam, obviously simplicity is the best solution. Go what you see. Obviously, this is not within the previous candle, and this is no reversal. This has been a reversal, but on a hindsight, if you were this chart only, if you were looking at, you have been wrong. This would have been a reversal pattern, but you are already proven wrong. Adding the second equation, this is not inside the first candle. This is no reversal pattern during a consolidation. No reversal pattern is useful. There is a characteristic which is we called as farther along the trend, or overextended price action, or things like that, bullish or bearish. This is obviously a higher high and you have a higher low. I simply put 2 lines to support my answer that this is a, considering this is a very important low, and this is third time price have tested it, and you are already making a higher high kind of a pattern. Yes, so you can see on SPY as well. You'll see this kind of pattern on a daily time frame, and it on a crucial resistance. Anyhow, I think we are done on this, right?
Yes. So in this question, it is sir. हाँ, वो question में mention किया एक second.
What's
So
the
it's
answer?
mentioned that identify which circle contains the candle pattern that was most likely to forecast a bullish reversal. So इसमें खाली candlestick pattern mention करना है, or you have to justify it. 4 points का है. So do we have to justify, because question is asking only identify which circle contains the candle pattern. तो वहाँ पे खाली एक बार उस पे थोड़ा highlight कर दो कि आपको reasons.
I think you
Actually-
can highlight what someone is saying.
Yeah, actually, it was the first part only I sent. There was another part to it. In the second part, they were asking the
There was
justification of.
There is
Acha,
a
okay.
second part too.
So,
Okay.
it
So
was like
what's
they
the
were
second part
they were asking the justification of whatever you have.
of your answer? So your justification, see, I'll tell you being honest, do not be afraid if you know a concept from your heart, you have been practicing in your trading or your desk or your job, do not be afraid to write it down in your own language. Grammar is not a problem. Language is not a problem. If you know the concept, write it down. Okay.
Okay.
So in the first question, all we do is just we highlight the circle and we say the name of the pattern.
You can say that, and you can say name the pattern. Simple as that. That's what we asked, right?
Yeah.
So what this is 6 A. So there are like how many questions to it?
There
4,
were
5,
8 questions.
right? Huh. So if it's like circle, which circle it is, just circle 4, or that bullish. If you are expected, what is the pattern being formed, and give me a good reason. So I can say probably we have seen prices taking the support third time at the same price. You have a bullish reversal. Bullish reversal. I think if it is in level 2, but it also indicates the start of a new trend if it is forming. And obviously after a higher low, that is also another thing that adds more weight to it, right? Done?
Yes.
Anything else? Be very cool, calm, collected. Time is very important. I've already shared you what Stanley has said. I mean, he usually writes on the harvest, and it gives you a very good timeline that what's the time period that is left. No answer is wrong if you have the right concept behind it, and if you have the right answer to prove that you are right and you know this concept by heart. So no answer would be wrong. Obviously, any fluke, any wrong just ऐसे kind of an answer, I think I've written over here as well. Don't get into that गाय के 2 पाँव होते हैं, गाय के 2 सिंग होते हैं, 4 पाँव होते हैं, 2 सिंग होते हैं, ये ऐसी गलती हो जाती है, right? So don't get into that kind of things. If you are asked what is it, it is bullish, bearish, or sideways. If you think it is bullish, you write it is bullish. If you are asked which circle it is, just write circle 4. Don't try to write, I can see this circle 4 is forming at the same support and you can see a great reversal from here. No, nothing is needed like that, right? And if you need any help, I'm happily available. I talk to a lot of people who are giving level not just 3, 2, 1. You are more than welcome. And Vaishnav, try to understand genetic algorithm, right? It's a very simple thing. Also try to understand what is the advantages or disadvantages of such powerful tool, be it just genetic algorithm, be it neural network, or be it Monte Carlo, right? So things like that, right? Done.
Last thing, I would like to just come back to the question of an example. Just for an examples, if there is a question about bubble, correct?
Huh,
So,
bubbles, yes,
right.
yes.
So, for example, I can't remember a simple line how to explain that particular stage or the scenario. Can I explain it with a way of example? For example, tulip bubble, correct? So when there is euphoria, and I'm not able to explain what exactly euphoria is during exam because I've read it now. I remember it. Even when I sit for the exam, I forgot the very statement or a basic line which I wanted to explain there. And rather than explaining that statement, can I give an example via this tulip bubble, or see, for example, like in
See,
tulip bubble,
your
prices were going high.
who's speaking your good name, buddy?
Smith.
Smith. Hi, Smith. Good evening. See, then there will be, I guess, I'm just trying to say the same thing you're saying. Then it will be a too much of what I would say extrapolation. You know, if you are just going to explain a bubble, right? You know,
Correct.
tulip bubble was right? And then, but you can. So it is important say कि भैया euphoria में क्या होता है, right? Over trading is one thing which happens in euphoria, right? So that is one example of it. If someone asks me what happens in financial distress, I think it is insiders who sell, right?
Correct.
And
Yes.
it is ये fraud वगैरह होता है. People usually do fraud and swindling जो होती है. So
Yes.
insiders selling would mean that it gives their perspective what is happening or what is their view on the equity market, and swindling and fraud just like what is happening in crypto right now, you know.
Okay.
You've got
Correct.
FTX, you got an FTX that went bankrupt, that went from $10 billion. I think this was the example we used in class, right? So FTX went bankrupt from $10 billion to just $40 million, right? And they are still claiming their US exchange is good and all those things. So what happens in reversal? It's usually, you know, when there is a collapse in the volume in bear market. So if I'm talking, so these are like very simple example. To be honest, credit creation, what happens in credit creation? A positive feedback loop, right? You get monetary loosenings, you get $600 paychecks, right? That was given, that kind of thing. A boom is exaggerated, or right, things like that. Displacement is you get new opportunities, new profit opportunities in some sectors, and probably that sector is taken over as one thing where profit can be made, you know, greater than what others are providing. So probably emergence of certain cryptocurrencies or was like a displacement that happened. So try to relate it with more recent example, so you would know exact you know, line what's going to happen. Like I've just give you swindling and fraud, so I've linked it in the back of your mind with financial distress. So that's the way to learn it, right?
Correct.
So next time you hear the word FTX, you hear the financial distress, right?
Correct.
Next time you hear that Kushal is over trading, you yourself link it with euphoria, right? Things like that. It's very easy to remember.
True. Correct. And sir, last thing.
हाँ.
Sorry, continue, sir.
क्योंकि क्या होगा ट्यूलिप का, ठीक है, I don't know how much have you read, obviously, but there will be a lot of extrapolation. Probably जो on the other end who is checking how much he knows, obviously they know good, But if you try to relate it with the recent things around you, na, you would
Okay.
you would
That
not
would be
extrapolate.
better.
It would be better actually
Sure.
as an answer.
And last thing, sir, since I'm from non coding background, so
Mhm.
I'm facing a bit difficulty in doing first 6 to 7 chapters. So
That is the
how
problem.
I have somehow managed myself to, understand few concepts and some logics which are basically required for a CMT to at least know those basics, like risk measures and profitability measures and everything. So rest other parts are, I'm finding it difficult. So how do I manage those things at last moment?
It is a bit hard. What I can do, Smith, is you should have at least. Do you have any like financial sample reports, sample report like what is the trading strategy? Because I think we created a trading strategy with everyone, and I probably gave it out so one can analyze it. It's a simple
Correct.
crossover strategy. Now, how do
Okay.
you decipher the strategy is so I think do you know how a strategy look like or that kind of things. Let me see if I can just show you. Say for example, it was I guess today is what 6th 11th, no 20.
Because I tried learning that from YouTube or any other sources, but they
It's a
tend to
long process.
deviate.
It is,
They
yeah,
tend to
obviously.
deviate from their main topic,
Uh,
and
no, it's a problem. So for me, it was like I was trying hands-on back in 2019 in trading you Pine Script and Ami Broker, to be honest with you. And I was trying to learn both languages for this purpose only, so that before level 3, I should be able to have few of my systems. And I'll be very honest with you, few of my systems came from the conception or came from the idea what I've read in level 2 and level 3. I'll be very honest, most of the systems. Even few systems I've shared on some social media somewhere are nothing but what I've learned from the concepts and just took them forward, probably did some signal testing and then tested the idea and see if it is. So let me show you something like RSI. No, RSI. I'll do one thing. What I do is I'll give you Smith a kind of a system report, okay? And what
Okay.
you will have in front of you is probably long winners, short losers. Don't try to
Correct.
look down the report on what is profit factor of this system or what is the Sharpe ratio of the long trades or the short trades. You pick up the book and try to calculate all the ratios by yourself. If you face any
Correct.
problem, you are more than welcome to connect. I'll be happy to help. Probably on 6th, I'm traveling to Hyderabad, so I'll be happy to help. But you can. So let's say this is a system which is for a very short period, but works well. Okay. Let me show screen. Screen one. Able to see, right?
Yes. Yes.
So this is like a system, and this is based on a short only index futures trade, and the Sharpe is 1.7, 1.8. You don't have to go through. This is what you need. Probably in exam too. You know, if I'm a like a person, if I want to test you, I would want you to analyze. So I'll give you this much data. These are the things. Get me profit factor. What is the average payoff ratio? For this, so I've got total profit, or what is the profit factor? I can take total profit, total loss, and get an absolute number, or what is my average payoff ratio. So average payoff ratio can be like 8295 divided by 7531, somewhat above 1.
Correct.
So
Above
average
one.
above average profited, yeah. So it's like 1.10. What's the Sharpe ratio? It's your return minus the risk-free rate. The calculation in ME broker is a bit different because I have to take it down in Excel and calculate the daily Sharpe. But you can use this kind of things. I'll share it. I'll share to Kushal or whichever group Kushal you are in, right? So Kushal will forward it to you. And there are more to this. I mean, you can take like anything related to genetic algorithm or so, because that you can read. If there is, I no doubt you can understand. Any other doubt?
No.
Done. Let's wind this up. All the best. And especially a day before, this will be my final input. A day before, don't try to even pick the book. You know, if you would have, if nothing has changed in like 90 days or before you registered, nothing is gonna change in one day. You have had a lot of things like Smith just said, and obviously everyone. There are things which you would learn. For me as well, going through genetic algorithm and in you know, creating those neural networks was something. So you have had a lot of information already in your mind. You have gone through concepts which Perry Kaufman has shared in TSM, and now probably it is time to absorb it rather than, you know, opening the book on the last day as well and trying to learn something new. If you try to learn something new on the last day, you'll probably mess up what you have learned for the last few weeks or months, you know. So don't go through last day as something you want to learn or change the world. Last day, do not pick the book. The best you can do for yourself is if you have made some notes, or if you have made some short notes, or if you have made some what do you say, right, that. So that can help you, or your test banks, if you have, you can use that as well. But just in the morning, if you go previous night, so you won't be able to learn something new, because it's a descriptive. You settle down, whatever you see on the screen, read it first rather than jumping to the conclusion that, you know, meko pata hai, that wo meme you have na of Rajpal
अपने
Yadav,
भगवान है.
अपने भगवान है, मैं करता हूँ, मेरे को पता है, right? तो वो actually मत करना. First time you read a question and you jump to answer, you're probably speculating or gambling. Third time you read it, you get yourself more closer to the answer. Whatever the information is shared with you on the screen before starting the exam, read it very carefully. There is no time foundation. As soon as you enter to do the exam, then the time, you know, the clock starts ticking. But read what's being in front of you and understand, right?
One more thing from my side, don't skip questions, because something that you might not get an answer to in the first read, if you've skipped a question, you might get an answer in the second or the third question. So don't skip your questions.